living in, we are competing in, we are repeating in, we are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.
And we're live. So, welcome to Best for the World, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, who are Nicole? We'll start with that, of course. A very short introduction.
Oh, who am I? I am currently an immigrant, a new invandrare here in Sweden. This is my 7th country, and everybody always asks me where I'm from. And the answer is my passport is German, but I never feel like this answer or the question does any justice or gives any real information about who I am. So yeah, I'm here in Sweden, building a life from scratch one more time. And with the firm intention that Sweden will be my last country.
Yeah, cool. And I'm Michael Sillion, Captain Future, a regular here on Best for the World, and my part is being what do you say, a forerunner for how we can reinvent ourselves as humanity, becoming the crew member, the identity shift we have to make to take care of ourselves, the planet, and society. And Captain Future is like how I play with that role and identity. And we're here today to talk about courage, what it is, what it can be, what it shouldn't be, and things like that. So what is your definition of courage?
Well, what is my definition of courage? Courage is a lot of things. And I think the most prominent thing is, courage is always a call to action. So courage is always about the doing. And having the confidence, I guess, to pick up courage. And just riffing off the game that we were just playing, sometimes, many times in life, courage is not a choice. And then we are forced. And that's how life plays us sometimes. But I guess the true courage is when we do not have to be courage and we still decide. Because courage is also always an exposure of some sort. And I think courage is impressive.
Yeah. And when you say the game we just played, we were referring to the previous session, so you'll find that on YouTube, the Glass Bead Games on choosing wisely.
Exactly.
Yeah, for anyone listening. So, and of course, that's interesting when you say courage is when you can choose. Of course, if it's forced upon you to be courageous, it's sometimes not even a choice. But when you can choose between courage and conformity, then choosing courage is courage.
Yeah.
To go against your fears or go against danger or going against the system or whatever you go against? Because there has to be a stake for it to be courage, right? Or do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a risk, right? We have something like heroic courage. There would be police, firefighters, people who really put themselves at risk. And then there is the everyday courage where we perceive a risk, where we think we are exposed, and in reality, nobody really cares other than us. But it doesn't diminish the truth that we feel fear. Just because other people do not care, it doesn't mean that the risk isn't real for me. At least in my head it is, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
When it's real. I'm thinking about there's a great concept, and there's a book about it came out 4 years called Upstream Work. You heard of it?
I heard about it, but I have not read it.
But the concept itself is easy. Like there's a explanation, a story that two people see they stand by a river fishing, and suddenly a person comes swimming by, and they jump in and save him, and they continue fishing. And a couple hours later, another person comes in, and they have to jump in and save them as well. And this continues and gets tighter and tighter. More and more people are coming in the river, so they have to jump in and save them. And just like when there seems like we can't keep doing this, one of the person leave. Say, hey, where are you going? There's so many people to save. I'm going upstream to stop the person throwing the people in the first place.
Yes, correct.
And that's a meme. But it's also about this, like, true, like most of the things we do in society today doesn't get encouraged. You win hero awards and stuff like that for preventing things to happen in the first place, even if that takes courage, because nothing happens. There's no heroism, there's no celebration, and no medal. And of course, most of the things are like that. We save people from not doing bad stuff all the time, just by thinking it, or by habit. We don't do dangerous stuff because we know it's dangerous and things like that. But at the same time, there's a dynamic there. If you stop doing the upstream work, a lot more here, there's lots more opportunity for heroes, but it's also a lot more suffering because. But if you do a large amount of upstream work, there's no conception that there is that society isn't dangerous anymore, and you got relaxed, and then the danger come back because you stop doing a lot of. So there's a dance or dynamic there, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I can't not think about right, the stress of having to be courageous. And how you said it, that if we do more upstream work, it robs us from the opportunity to be courageous, right?
Yeah, in a sense, but some of the upstream work takes courageous because you have to go against system and do things outside your mandate and things like that. You do extra work because nobody knows that you does this because you don't tell anyone about it. You do.
Oh, is it only courageous if other people see me do it? I
No,
don't think so.
no. It's not. But we get the sensation of that, and we don't celebrate. They celebrate that when you save someone. We celebrate that, but when we don't know you saved someone, we don't celebrate it. So, but it's still courage from you, and inside you, it's real. And maybe you are afraid even to tell that you do this. So you do it on the side, or you do it in secret. It should be part of your job, but you don't have the mandate to do it. But you do it. Anyway, and things like that.
So, I think there's different kinds of courage.
Yeah, of course, many types
right?
of courage.
So I think the first one is to stand up for yourself, to do something for yourself. It's just the courage to face change in whatever way. And I think that's the most introverted kind of courage. And many might not realize, not even notice the change other than the person that is doing that. I think then there is the courage to stand up and call out bullshit, stand up against the system,
Stand up against the bully.
Yeah, in some sort, something at least established that we do not question, or that has always been like that. Maybe it's not about bullying as such. Like maybe it's not evil. Maybe it has changed over time, and maybe it's just simply not appropriate anymore. And we are speaking about the future. We are not adapted for these new situations. So it's the courage to speak up against something that is established without wanting to give it any weight of good or bad or whatever. It's just established. It's been there, and everybody does it this way. And then I think the very last one is the courage to create yourself for yourself. So be the creator of something, but for others. So create an alternative to what is established. And with that, you are exposing yourself, and you also could be running the risk of being the new, and now for lack of other words, the new oppressor. We've been, standing up against something before, and then we create something. There will be people attacking us for what we create. So I guess courage is always about defending something or someone, something that is vulnerable and that we consider worth fighting for, or
Yeah, like defending something worth fighting for, because you can easily also think that some people say that courage is like face your own fears, like doing a lot of what the people doing extreme sports, climbing, skateboarding, all that, exploring like life-threatening things. But many of them find out do it for the kick, and they do more dangerous stuff over time because they want to up the level of the risk. But then it's not courage anymore, because you're just looking for the kick, perhaps. But it's deeply still connected to the inside human thing of facing your own fears and risking your life. But if you don't risk it for something, is it courage then?
Is it courage if you're not afraid? And is it courage if you do not doubt yourself? Because as you said, like at some point, the fear becomes a kick, becomes a thrill.
Yeah, and it can be that even if you do stand up to system and or facing oppression and a bully, some people actually find that in that adrenaline rush, they like doing that, and they continue to do that. That can be a driving force for good as in itself, because we can also, like, even if they look for the kick of standing up to oppression, they do good work in doing it. So is the outcome connected to the courage also? Is it what you do it for? I mean, you can actually turn it around and say being a bully takes courage in some situation, like being a dictator takes courage to stand up against other dangerous dictators, but taking power from them. But it's not that type of courage we're talking about.
No, I think that's just playing with words, the semantics.
Yeah, but they are connected, of course, to the emotions.
Yeah, but it's then but then it's no.
What should we call that then? Because it's a thing.
But I think this is drifting away from courage. This is then being opinionated, or I don't know, like like having a conviction. And pushing that through at all costs. No, I think courage is always confrontational. Courage is always situational. Courage, again, is a call to action, is asking you for a reaction in the moment. And I think always afterwards, again, coming back to our game of wisdom, sometimes we know afterwards by the result if it was courage or was it plain stupidity. Right?
Exactly. We find out afterwards if it was just a stupid thing to do, or did you learn something? Was it worth doing?
Yes. But then also, I think courage has an external factor, as in we see other people be courageous, and that is something that we admire because it is confrontational, because it is very energy sucking, because it's a fight. Basically, you're provoking a fight of some sort, confrontation, and then there's the internal one for us, but that's the one that we see. I think courage always feels shit.
You think that, or you think it's different for different people?
No, I think because it's a risk, because it's a call of action, because there is, in that moment, is it courage if you're not afraid anymore? So in that moment, being afraid, it never feels good. It's a decision that I might be doubting myself. Am I capable? Am I able? Do I have the capacity to be the one to save the day? And with some people, like for some, it takes forever to contemplate about that. Like when am I going to stand up for myself, or for something else? And then sometimes it's very reactional. Like in a matter of seconds, you are making an estimation about there is a risk. It requires a reaction. Am I the person to do it? I will go for it, right? There's a reason why normal people don't run towards the fire but away, right? So you need to have the training. I think courage is a script that you learn. And that by script, I mean you learn to evaluate your own capability, your own strength, your own judgment, so that you can, in complex situation, estimate, am I the one to do it? Am I the one to go in, run into the fire?
Yeah.
Right?
And that comes back to like two things comes to me that we talked about. It's a thing, it's a skill. You can train your courage, and because there are professional people working using courage in their work, like firemen and rescuer. Yes. Of course, there's many TV series about rescue people and stuff like that. Where you're so fascinated by these people, what drives them, how do I face all that? So that's a skill. Do we have courage schools and courage courses enough? Because that's probably what we need in society. We need a lot more courage to stand up to bullies and the systems that makes us driving us off the cliff at the time. So we have to. Do we start training people in courage, starting small and safe, and then we go bigger and bigger? So we train the skill of courage in society.
I think most of the times, because as you said, it is a skill, it is a practice. Every profession that requires courage they have a theory, they have a practice, there is a mentor, there is feedback, there's an increase of intensity. Nobody would put a medical student into the hospital and say like, do neurosurgery now. Right?
Here's the instruction manual. We will be back in an hour.
Exactly. Like nobody does it. Like they have 10 years of practice. Same goes for, firefighters and everything. I think we never, when we see these people do these things, we experience them, we title them as courageous. But when you're the one learning that, nobody tells you that you are in the process of learning courage. Because I think, especially in society, or in schools, we teach our kids to comply. So often. It's about compliance, right?
Without even realizing in most cases.
Yeah. And then we want them to
do like you're
up.
told.
Yeah. And then we want them in the needed situation. We would like them to be courageous, but we're never telling them to make the difference. This is the script, this is how you comply, this is how you create harmony, this is how you are part of it. And then this is how you break the script. This is how you stand up. And this is how you being confrontational. And are you being confrontational or are you being courageous? Again, that is a matter of perspective.
Yeah. So we want people to be courageous, but we train them not to be in most cases. And even when we do train them to be courageous, we don't realize that this is the courageous skill. Like think of people are like first pen and paper role playing games where you put skill points in skills, and then even in computer games today you put skills and talent trees and stuff. And I haven't seen a courageous skill in any of this when I think about it. There's not courage is not one of the like the prime skills or secondary skills there. Perhaps we should have that conversation. We start with the games to realize that there actually is a skill of courage, and then we can take it in society, because of course games, especially computer games, is so widespread today, so that putting it into games makes us aware that courage is a skill in the first place.
Yes, it is a skill, but again, it's the way it is portrayed. Like we watch TV, we read books, and right, it's like wow, and like the hero is always courageous, right?
Yeah,
he's always
like
courageous,
that,
and we like that, and we're like, and when we see it in others, it is so clear. And then when we are in the moment, we doubt ourselves.
We chicken out.
Because it feels shit, right?
Yeah.
And nobody tells you that in the moment.
It's supposed to feel shit.
The moment you have to be courageous, you will not feel like glory and a halo and it's gonna be amazing. You will feel shit. And maybe that is the best indicator that you're currently being courageous.
I'm just thinking about I'm a big fan of Seth Godin, and in many of his motivational talks and stuff like this, he tells us that many people who do great things, like marathon runners and heroes and all that kind, they don't do it effortlessly. They have a lot of pain, but the one thing they figured out is where to put the pain. And it's not the same for every people. Like there's not one solution to where to put the pain and the discomfort. Some people use it to drive them. Some people try to numb it away. Some people put it somewhere else in the mind or the body, because it can be bodily pain when you push yourself like that. But but there's also the mental pain is perhaps the worst. The discomfort.
Can you learn to love your pain?
Yeah. Become a pain addict then. Of course, then again we're back to the
it's just funny, like in my own life right now. So I joined Toastmasters in order to be able to speak better, give better speeches. And I know that I'm very good at communicating, that I'm good in holding conversations and asking questions. But there's something to giving a speech. And I am not afraid to speak. I'm not shy. I like speaking. And yet, when I had to give my own speech, like I found it always so funny how everybody is so afraid of public speaking. I'd rather die than be on the stage. Like ridiculous. And the very moment that I stood for my first speech on the stage, it felt threatening, because the whole purpose was for me to stand on the stage and be judged and be evaluated and get feedback. And even though I know these people are very kind and wanting to help, having so much attention on me felt so bizarre. And it was a speech of 5 minutes. The next day I gave a talk of an hour, and I was not even a tenth as afraid, because I knew it was about the subject. It wasn't about me. So there is an exposure to being courageous, and I all of a sudden understood why everybody is so afraid. But then again, as you said, like where do I put my fear? And usually I hide it, I bury it around, like, okay, that's the knowledge that I share, that is the conversation that I'm holding, these are the questions that I'm asking. I'm hiding them behind my curiosity. But when there is nothing to hide behind, it did feel exposed. I did feel naked, so it's bizarre, right? And there is no risk in my life. I will walk off, and it's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, for me, it's been a very long journey. When I was young in school and university, I was super afraid of public. The worst time in my whole school was when you had to stand up in front of the class. And I remember first week of university, we were supposed to do a sketch in front of all the other students, and I was sick that way. I dared not to do it, and it took me like I was 39, 12 years ago when I did my first public speaking.
Yeah.
Because I challenged myself, and it was a horrible feeling. But I realized now I know why, because I have autism. There was not the social fear, it was like another thing. Because now I love it. I feel exhilarated talking for people. There's none of the stage fright, nothing of that. I would... Maybe for a million people watching, there was something short. But now I feel like, woo, I'm going to talk for people. I'm going to, because I have all the, like, I don't care, because the way I look and dress, it's not the social fear of being expulsed.
Yeah.
That is inside me, because I'm very comfortable standing out. So it's not that, it was something else. And now that I overcome it, I feel great, like dressing up, walking.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do this 25 years ago, walk with funny hair and funny clothes on town, even not speaking. But now I can do both, but stand out everywhere and not feel discomfort. And so that's the type of courage that I use to further what how do we make a better society, because I can use all my tools to do that without feeling the social fear of talking to people.
Yeah, I mean, you know, again, I think it's all about scripts and the scripts that we learn. And we learn the script of being the ones that have to listen and listen to others. And then when you do something for the first time, it's always scary. So you built yourself a new script. And now you're this person, you are Captain Future, who stands in front of people. And it is you, but it's also not. It's a persona. And it's, you know, it's like putting that a little bit away from you, so it doesn't touch you. Like it's you, but it's not. Yeah, again, I think it's all about breaking the scripts and then practicing and then intensifying, like dialing up the intensity. Because if it's too intense too quickly, it becomes traumatic. Then we're traumatized, and we will not do it again.
Yeah. Like some people act when running towards the fire. It's not by choice, but they do it one time, but never again.
Yeah.
Because it was too much.
Yeah. I'm thinking of my son right now. I have one son who learned swimming quite a while ago, and the other one, due to our move and everything, we didn't have the time to give him the attention to teach him how to swim. And now he's the oldest kid in that group that doesn't know. Like all the other kids are much younger, and the longer he stays at a certain level, the bigger his fear becomes to go into the water. Even though he's spending more time in the water and he should become more confident, I have the impression it's the opposite, because he's been kept in that shallow water, and he's never, I think his fear of having to be courageous and actually swim where his feet can't touch, it's taking over, you know. It becomes this really big fear. It's becoming bigger than the courage that he's having. So the more we practice it, it doesn't actually help.
Yeah.
Right?
He practiced the fear more than the courage.
Exactly. Exactly.
So even if he gets a little bit of better courage, he gets a lot better at fear, of if we call it like
exactly.
that.
So he's gaining more fear, then he's gaining more confidence, and it's just, what do? Do we push him and and see what happens? Like, will it traumatize him? Will it be
forever
overcome? Like, what do you do in this?
Because people are different. We never know what.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what do we do now? So I don't know.
Yeah. So we have 5 more minutes to sum this conversation up.
How do we sum it up? think courage is sold to us as a feeling. Once you feel courageous, you act courageous. And I think that is a myth. That is not correct. Courage is a skill that you practice. Courage...
On all kinds of situations and levels.
Yeah.
But just because you're courageous in one thing doesn't mean you're courageous in the tide.
Exactly. It's situational.
Yeah.
It's, right?
It can be physical courage or
yeah,
psychological
yeah,
courage, social
yeah.
courage.
Yeah. It definitely has to do with scripts. There's a risk. Again, there's a risk or a perceived risk, and there is a call to action. It's not courage if you do not act.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, like, in that essence, if it's a skill, how do we find the teachers and the group that does courage all the time? How do we, like the myth, and it's saying that we become like the people we spend the most time with. So if we spend time with courageous people, it makes us there more because we can see it's risk-free for them.
Yes. Courage is a team sport.
Courage is a team sport, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good sum up. Courage is a skill and courage is a team sport, and we have to get a lot better at it in society.
Yes. And again, when we talk about schools and teaching, when do we teach them to be courageous? Because it could also mean that they will stand up and confront us.
And not like they did to me as younger. Maybe you just pushed them in front of a class and now you have to talk to 30 people and I'm never doing that again.
Yeah, so...
How do we start safe? They talk in front of their stuffed animal at home and then you bring in the parent and then you bring in the sibling and you train them like that when they're small, perhaps.
I don't know.
That could be one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different generation. My kid had to do a presentation in front of class and was terrified. But when I told him, I will film you and it'll be on YouTube, then it's all of a sudden like, I'll be on YouTube? I'll do it
I get likes.
now. I get right? You got to find a motivation for courage, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, crap, I didn't think that would work. But yes, it did.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Nicole,
Well,
for this conversation on courage. And thank you, every listener, where you're in that camera. Bye, everyone. And please talk to us. You can find us online if you want to talk more courage about